All right, boom. We're live. We'll get started here in a second. Welcome. We're getting started in a minute. All right. Looks like we're ready. All right, we're going to get started here. Welcome. What we typically do is talk for a few minutes. I'll give you some tips on remodeling, hiring people tonight, and then ask any questions you want about remodeling. If you're new, let me know where you're from, what part of the country, what your specialty is, and welcome. Won't take long. I usually talk for about 10 or 12 minutes, just give you some good ideas, and then we have a few minute discussion. All right. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, you can see slides. Otherwise, you can feel free to comment right here on TikTok. That's perfect. All right. So inevitably, if you have to hire people, look, if you want to grow your business, you understand how this works. Most people working for someone else say, hey, I'm going to go start my own remodeling company. And really, you're just self-employed. You do everything. You wear all the hats. And that's challenging. And that's not being a business owner, that's being self-employed, right? Each job is the only way you're getting paid at the moment because you work by the hour basically for the homeowner. You have to do everything. You have no employees to really help you. Now, as you start growing a team and you can step away from having to do all the work, that's running a business. Think about if any of you ever worked at Subway. The owner of the Subway franchise typically would hire you open the store, close the store, be the sandwich artist, make all the sandwiches, the subs, sell those, collect the money, right? That's the employee. For some reason in remodeling, a lot of remodelers get hung up on, I got to do all the work. The owner of Subway should not be making the sandwiches, and you, as the contractor, over time, shouldn't be the one swinging the hammer, installing the trim. That's what your guys do. You become the leader of the team. That's being the business owner. All right. So the question is, how do you get there? How do you hire people without causing chaos, right? Yeah, it's challenging. So we'll go over it and we'll get you there. There's a thing called onboarding. A lot of people do this in the corporate world. And a lot of remodelers think, I don't need to do that. That's not necessary to run my business. Well, it is. You don't need to do it the way a corporate company specifically does it, but you need to have an onboarding process. And really, it's just a fancy term for you show people how to do things and you show them the way things work here in my business, especially when there's problems. That's what onboarding is. So I'm going to give you a real example. Imagine this. You're demoing a bathroom. You're excited. Customer just signed you up. You're expecting to make a lot of profit. The 1980s home, that bathroom is ugly. You're ripping it out. Day one. Okay, you've ripped out the tub, the toilet, the vanity. medicine cabinet, and now you're tearing up the floor and cutting half the sheetrock out, right? And all of a sudden, you notice that the supply line for the toilet has been leaking over the years. Yeah, there's a bad solder joint, and also the toilet was leaking. And now the subfloor is rotted. One of the floor joists is rotted. I mean, it's a disaster, right? What are you going to do? You're going to cover it up. You're going to fix it without charging the homeowner. I mean, what does your scope say? When you wrote up the contract, did you even discuss the fact? Did you know that there was a leak? Did anyone pick up on it or not? Well, if you have a new guy working for you and he's doing the demo, but at the same time, he's also supposed to be one installing the new subfloor, what's he supposed to do? Is he supposed to cover it up? Is he supposed to fix it? That's why you have an onboarding process. Right? For our company, that process involves, hey, when you come across a condition that is unexpected, you check the scope. If it's not written and addressed in the scope, then you stop work, you assess the situation, assess the damage, and we come up with a plan for how we're going to move forward so that this problem gets corrected so that we can move forward with the rest or the remainder of the project. That involves a change order, right? But your employee needs to understand that process so that they just know how to do it. Now, they might call you to get some clarification on, hey, boss, here's what's happened. I found this problem. I've already measured the joist. I've measured the area. I already figured out how we're going to make the repair. It's going to require a new 16-foot 2x10. We're going to have to cut sheetrock out down in the kitchen. We got to do this. We got to do that, right? But we can make the repair. It's going to take us a day to do the work. It's going to cost $300 in materials. So then you as the owner say, great, let the homeowner know it's going to be $1,200 or $2,500, whatever the price is. Here's the change order. You call the homeowner, you let them know, or your project manager. That's having an onboarding process. Now everyone on the team knows how we're addressing situations. And you got to imagine all the different scenarios in your company. There's a lot of them. And you need to properly train your guys so that they run through it, because you don't get any second chances in remodeling. When surprises come up, everybody knows how to deal with them. And usually not dealing with them is trouble. Imagine your guy comes across that rotted stuff and he just decides to fix it. Well, now you've just lost $2,500. Good luck trying to make that up because he decided to do it for free. Be a nice guy. Or let's say he's like, well, I got to keep to our schedule. The boss is going to get mad at me if I don't finish this today. So he hides it and just covers it up, right? That doesn't work either. Then later on, the homeowner is going to get pissed at you and blame you because you discovered it. You didn't say anything. You didn't address it. So you have to have processes to cover these things. All right. And companies that have a proper process, they're just more effective. They have less lawsuits. All right. So how do we put something like this in place? Like, what is the thing? These are called core principles that your company has to have. Hey, this is how we have integrity. This is how we deal with things, right? We don't bury the damage, and nor do we just fix it. We address it. We bring it up. We talk about it. We figure out what's it going to cost. All right. Also, companies need to talk about how the employees are supposed to handle numerous situations, right? Who on the company is handling that situation? What's the chain of command? For us, helper reports to the carpenter, lead carpenter. Lead carpenter goes up and usually has a area project manager, and then that person talks to the owner. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. Homeowner typically just talks to the lead carpenter after sales. During sales, the homeowner's talking to the salesperson, and we have our pre-construction, right? And then that turns over to the lead carpenter. So you guys have to have policies and procedures, and that's part of your onboarding process. Because what you don't want is the homeowner going over all the things with the helper who's brand new. Just because the helper's on site doesn't mean the helper needs to know, hey, Mr. Miss Smith, those are all really good questions. I'm not, the way our company's set up, I'm not the one to discuss that with. You need to discuss it with Joe. He's the lead carpenter. Everybody needs to know. You have to give the people on your team the little script so that they can address it. Because when the homeowner comes to them, they're going to feel like, oh, I need to be helpful. I need to answer the homeowner's questions. And you have to be like, no, you don't. You redirect them, right? That's how you answer them. All right. So You have to also ask new hires like, hey, what are you really good at? What areas do you struggle? Right? So that you can help customize their onboarding process a little bit. And they, what else? So you should have some periodic checkpoints where you give new people feedback, let them know how it's going. A, people like to know they're doing a good job if they are. B, you need to address things that have to be corrected, shifted, changed in a timely manner. Because the longer you allow it to go in the wrong direction, the more that bad behavior gets reinforced if you're not saying anything. Some of us think it's confrontational and we don't want to cause a problem. So you might not say anything. That's the worst thing you can do. There is a way to bring up, you go to an employee and you say, hey, tell me about how you're doing this right now. Explain to me your thought process. And then you can say, hey, have you ever thought about it this way? And then you can lay into, see, here we would prefer that you do it this way, and here is why. So does that make sense to you now, giving the full story, right? Try not to just tell them that they're wrong and they're an idiot, even though you might be thinking that. Instead, understand why they're doing it the way they're doing it. You'll be shocked. A lot of people, this is what I've learned over the years. Most of my employees, when they make a mistake, their intention was good. They thought that what they were doing was going to help out the company and the homeowner. If the reality is the way they went about it was flawed, but they didn't know that in the moment. So what I'm saying is you might get really pissed because the employee did something. You're like, ah, what an idiot. I can't believe he did that. That's so stupid. But, and yes, you might be accurate that it was stupid. But what I'm trying to get at is you having a conversation with them and ask them, hey, tell me, Joey, when you decided to do this, what was your plan? What were you thinking was going to help me understand how you came up with this as the solution? And often when they talk it through, you'll be like, okay, I can see why you did that. And here's why in the future we would prefer you do it this way. This will be much more effective, and your team will be like, all right, cool, I see what you mean. Again, most guys mean well, they just don't implement well in the beginning when they're new, unless you've trained them. All right. So all guys need to understand how things go on a job site. Okay. They just need to understand basic things. You have to show them. Don't assume that just because a guy's been working for 5 years, he already knows it, because he could have been taught really bad habits at the last place. We've talked about this before. Do mini inspections, right? What else? Give the guy some room to do some independent work. Any advice? Hey, contractor Dave, we'll get to advertising in a few minutes. All right, brother? Yeah, no worries. After 90 days, make sure you do a good evaluation with any new hire. Have them track, right? So again, just imagine if you do a good onboarding process with your new team member, the first 90 days are going to be sure a little slower and challenging because you're taking a lot of time to provide them with a lot of context for why they do it, how they do it, the way you do it. But think about this. That person, once the foundation's been built, they will be able to operate for you much smoother, much quicker going forward every day of the year. And that's the goal. Okay. Slow and steady in the beginning, build them up, give them the proper foundation. Then you can release them and really let them get to work. But what most guys do in this business is they're under panic mode and they release the guy right away to go do work because they're desperate, they're behind, and then the new person makes all kinds of errors, not even knowing that they're errors. It's just that it's different than the way you do it, but you never showed them the way. You thought they should be able to read your mind. This was a big problem I ran into in the beginning. I thought everyone knew the smart way to do it was, of course, to do it the way I've been doing it. And why didn't you understand that? Why couldn't you read my mind? That's what I meant when I said that. I might have said this, but this is clearly what I meant by it, right? I mean, that's, as a business owner, you have to have come to that moment in your life where you realize you're really being a jackass thinking that, right? Like I had to sit back and go, this is stupid. I'm expecting these guys to know these things because to me, that's what makes sense. They're not wrong. I'm not guiding them properly. When you figure that out, you'll have a lot more success with your teams. Anyway, if you'd like a nice detailed AI prompt, you can reach out to us, get on our team. We'll go through all that for you. But basically, you'll just say like, hey, I run a small remodeling company. Help me build the 90-day onboarding plan for my new helper, my new lead carpenter, my new siding technician, whatever it is. The company cares about doing things correct the first time. We have a change order policy. This is our chain of command at the company. Okay. And then boom, you write up what's my first day orientation look like? When do I go over job site safety and rules? When do I teach them how to clock in, clock out? Where do I show them how tools are kept, right? Who do they talk to if there's a problem, right? All that should be done like week 1 minimum. How to spot job site problems. They should always be assessing the entire job site, looking around every morning before they start. They get a sense for what's going on. And every day when they close up, they get another sense for how the project's being left. We don't fix stuff for free. And then you need a checklist for the first 30 days, the 30 through 60. And a simple culture talk. You need to have a way to express how your company is. Like at our culture, no smoking on job sites. Guys have to wear shirts regardless of the weather, right? No loud music, no dogs being brought to job sites, things like that. Okay, you can have your own culture. You can have them take off their shirts. You can have them play loud music. That's up to you. But you need to have some sort of somewhere something should be written so people understand what you can do and what you can't do. Otherwise, if you just start telling people that, hey, we don't do that here, they're like, well, we never told us. Where is it? How come you don't have it in writing? How's anyone supposed to figure it out? All right. So, what do we have? Contractor Damon, what is your specialty again? I know you were on here the other night. You do everything, I believe. Yeah. So, how long have you been a general contractor and advertising? Like, how long ago did you start out on your own? Hey, Justin, what's happening? Good to see you here. All right. So, Damon, 3 years. So, you got to let me know what's your number one niche. What's the best thing that you do? Cool, Justin. So, Damon, like, if you could only pick one job that you would do for the next year, and what I mean is, like, if it's kitchens, you're going to do 10 kitchens next year, and that's it. Like, what's the niche? What's the one specialty that your company's the best at? You make the most money at it. You do them the quickest. You're the most profitable. Okay. So this would be my suggestion. You market yourself today going forward for 1 year as the addition expert in your town. All right. So come up with a flyer, a basic, just a little flyer. Also make a door hanger that says that you do custom additions, right? If you offer design build, whatever it is that makes you great. Then look into getting with a mailing company. Maybe look into getting with a Valpak service. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to go pick a zip code or two in your area where the ideal homeowner that you want to target lives. Okay. So I'm assuming that you need people that have a certain level of income. They can afford a certain style of a house. And then you're going to pick certain neighborhoods and then you're just going to market to them specifically. Okay. Your company vehicles should somehow let people know that you're like the best addition company in the world. Your shirts should somehow let them know that you're the best addition company in your area. And your website, and then your Facebook page and your Instagram account. Okay. You only need a couple posts. You should just in your social media somewhere you should say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if you're looking to hire someone to do an addition, and you found that these are the problems that you've run across, we do those things so that they're not your problem, right? You tell the homeowner how you solve their biggest problem. Most homeowners don't know who to hire. They have to get a set of plans. So you should offer some sort of a package where you'll come out and just do the design of the addition for them for a fee. You don't do the whole estimate at that point. You just do the design. You get your foot in the door, right? You do some nice before and afters, okay? You start networking, go around to all your supply houses, let them know, give them a flyer, say, hey, we're the best addition company in the area. Let homeowners know if they're looking for someone, we'd like to be involved in those discussions. And then you go to the neighborhood specifically that you want to work in and you hand out flyers. Then you mail them a postcard. Okay. You try to target those areas through your Facebook ads. Now you're marketing, and 3 to 6 months you should have some addition jobs lined up. Does that make sense? Is that what you're trying to figure out? Everything has to be around one thing, and it all has to be consistent. So when the homeowner looks you up at any point, if they see your vehicle and they go to your website, they go to your Facebook page, everything says we do additions. We're amazing addition people. Then they don't get confused. All right. So, Justin, what you got? You got any questions? You got him. You have an employee working for you now. How are things going with your employee? Awesome. All right. So ideally, right, you're onboarding him, teaching him all the things that you do so that he becomes better than you at doing what you do. He's an older one, probably that. Good for you. Yeah. So my initial thought, Justin, in your situation is you get him to the point where he can run the job himself so that you can focus on just meeting with homeowners, lining up more jobs, right? You can help him at times when he needs it, but ideally, hopefully, he's your go-to guy out in the field for tackling all the projects so that you can focus on landing more projects for both of you, in a sense. And then for the next person you want to bring on the team. So for me, I prefer to have a W-2 right-hand person on the team because I want to dictate to my main guy the hours that he works, how he does things. I want him wearing company logo, shirt, hat. That becomes an employee. Okay. If he's a sub, if he's a 1099, you can't tell him what time to start. You can't tell him what time to finish. You can't tell him what to wear. You just have to say, hey, the Jones at 22 West Riverdale need the gate rebuilt and they want that water feature built, and we have 1 week to do it, and then he's supposed to figure it out. That's technically how it kind of works with a sub. I mean, yeah, you can tell them, hey, I need it done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But what I'm saying is, with a direct employee, when you switch them over to a W-2, now you give them a hat, you give them a shirt, you let them know the job starts at 7. You got to work this many hours for me. Things that's I find that works better for the right hand guy. Okay, he should be a direct employee. Yeah. So because he's going to be eventually, my thought would be, and I don't know his personality, but he'll probably start becoming a boss for you for other guys that work for you. Yeah. Okay. So yes. Yeah, he ends up leading your team down the road. So, I mean, look, you know, the first few weeks you want to try to do put them set them up more as a subcontractor. You can, but long term, it's going to get sloppy. You know, so just start talking with a payroll company now if you don't already. It's going to be easier to have a bookkeeper or somebody else. And, you know, this is my suggestion with W-2 employees. You pay them 2 times. It's like every other week. So you can talk to whoever your bookkeeper or your accountant or payroll person is, whether they're going to do 2 times a month, every other week. But don't do payroll every week. It's just, it gets too expensive. It's a burden. You're better off paying guys every 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, you were the one, right? We talked about the trial, and you mentioned the word probation, right? Yeah, you do the 90-day probationary period, and then, you know, at that point, be ready to have them on a consistent payroll with you. So here's the thing: when you bring this guy on, be, you know, train him well in the beginning, because the only way you can grow is he has to be really good at what he does out in the field, so that you're not having to supervise him all the time. Because if you're constantly having to supervise him, then you're just not going to have the time to go sell all these jobs during the day. You're going to be busy working on the site, and you're going to feel like a big babysitter, and that's going to burn you out. That's what happened to me in the beginning. I would, you know, the guys, I didn't hire the best guys, and I'm babysitting them all the time. So that means now I'm on site all the time, and, you know, we're constantly having to go back, fix this, double check that, rework this. It's exhausting. So my suggestion is take the time in the beginning, train them, work with them, help him out. You know, if he's got the if he has the capacity to be a leader for you and run the job for you, awesome. Because that's your goal. You want to get him up and running like within 90 days, so that you can literally explain the job to him and he can go to bang it out. You don't even have to show up. And there's guys like that that are capable of doing that for sure. Yeah, you got it. And then the other thing is, when you understand Justin his capabilities, I'll give you an example. One of the first guys I hired was awesome at doors, windows, kitchens, baths. So when I'm out looking at projects, anytime I come across something like that, I'm like, ching, boom, I'm landing. I want to land this job because it's perfect for my guy. You know what I mean? And there were times where I came across a project that wasn't perfect for our team. And I'd be like, you know, you might pass. You don't have to take every project that comes along. Now, unless you want to GC it and sub it out, okay? But sometimes what I'm trying to say is, if the job's not perfect for your skill set for you and your team, you should pass on it or GC it. But don't all it's not a good idea to put guys in a position where they don't know how to do what you're asking of them. Unless that's something you want to move in that direction. You're going to use this project as your learning job to move on to do more of them in the future. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, like, yeah. So I mean, because sometimes I would come across projects that, like, I have no interest in learning that or getting our company into that. And if I don't know of a way to GC it that'll be efficient, right? Sometimes you, if you don't know what you're doing, you get into a whole neck of woods. The learning curve's too steep, and you can lose too much money. Yeah. So stick to what you're good at. Like, if you're really, you know, like, it sounds like you're good at the landscape side, water features, electronics, signs, whatever. You know, really dive into that and run with it. And, you know, make as much money and knock out as many jobs as you can, get as many happy customers, start getting building up your Google reviews right away, and you know, get a lot of good referrals. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, unless I remember the first, like, what the first rooftop deck, I wanted to get into doing rooftop decks, and I had never done a rooftop deck. And I passed on the very first one that I ever looked at. It was too complex for me, But the second one I came across, I took it, and it was a learning curve for us, And then the next thing you know, now we're doing rooftop decks all the time. So, you have to figure out but that's because my market at the time, rooftop decks were popular. You'll figure it out, what works for you, what doesn't. So, what else? Any other questions? Otherwise, we might bounce. Oh, very cool. All right. What size deck are you guys doing? Is it a freestanding? Is it attached to the house? Is it 1-story, 2-story? What are you doing? Okay, 24 by 12 is nice. Are you doing composite? You doing cedar, ipe? What are you doing? Attached to 3 walls? Okay. Nice. All right. Very cool. Yeah. Decks can be LVL beam across front. All right. It's funny. There's a company in my area. They first started when I was getting started. They're called American Deck, and this guy was a genius. What he did was he rented a small warehouse, and what he would do is he would order all his lumber for decks ahead of time, and he would have it dropped off to his warehouse, and then he would have a guy pre-cut the deck and label it in the warehouse so that the guy could work any day, rain or shine, didn't matter. So he would literally not the decking, but the frame. He would pre-cut the frame. They would pre-cut the stringers, the landings, and then just deliver to job sites. Boom, have that deck installed in like a day or two and roll out. Very, very interesting concept, the way he went about building decks. He grew up to one of the largest deck companies in the coast. Yeah. So, I mean, you start realizing that like there's some guys that take the business to a whole different level. Now you have to be good at measuring, but when you think about it, like sometimes it can be much more efficient to build that way than, especially like if you're working high off the ground, whatever. But just always be looking for ways to be efficient, so you can get in, get out. But decks can be very good business because you're not in the home, inside the home. Homeowners, it's less stress on the homeowner when you're just fixing, when you're building outside. So. Okay, very cool. That sounds pretty cool. I think you might have shared a picture of that. It's almost like a loft. Is that the one that you shared a picture of? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you should definitely do before and afters of that. That's a cool project, you know, get involved in things like that. And you can attract other business, other people that have that, you know. Definitely do some networking. Yeah, yeah. So good camera helps for sure, especially the after photos if you can get some nice lighting. But even a good iPhone can, make sure you clean off the lens. You know what I mean? And just get a couple nice angles. There you go. I'm gonna tell you this remodeling reveal party. If you have the right clients, it works wonders. Because you let them know, like, and to sponsor the party, look, it shouldn't cost you much. I'm saying you offer to pay for, like, hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever, a couple bags of chips, things like that, sodas, whatever. So it might cost you like, $200 maybe. You buy the plates, the napkins, stuff like that. Or if it's a high-end party, maybe you pay for some of the alcohol. You have to figure it out. Okay, I don't know the clientele. We would do a lot with families that had kids, like the end of the year soccer party, whatever, dance, they have a big dance party at the end. You figure it out. But yes, and you let them know, like, hey, when the project's done, you mail out to all your friends, let them know that and part of the way the invite is that your company is sponsoring this homeowner's party for them. And yeah, if you're a hospitality type of person, you can offer to man the grill, like cook the burgers for them. Maybe you just stand behind the bar, make the drinks. I don't know. Like, you can get creative with it, or you just offer to pay for the celebration party and ask the homeowner, hey, would you just put some of my flyers here and let all your friends know that we're the company that built this and are, sponsoring the party so that you can have a nice party. You don't even have to be there. There's a lot of different ways to go with this. Okay, with a retirement community. Yeah. But what should hopefully the goal is, whatever this client, whoever your ideal client is, your current client should know more people that are just like your client. And then when they have this party, most likely all their friends are going to come. Like, this happened for us with basements all the time. The one guy would get the basement done. He would invite his buddies over. They'd all see how cool his media room is, how cool his bar area is, his game room. And they'd be like, well, we have to fucking get that now. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. I think it can work for you. It's a little bit extra work. Um, but I'll share with you, we would rehab houses and we would do so over time, here's where this can go, Justin, follow me from it. If you start working with a local supply house for the materials, and then you get in touch with the sales rep for those materials, let's say that on the next deck you do, maybe you're doing some AZAC deck, or you do the Timber Tech rail system, or you use a special brand lighting and you get it from your local distributor. You can get to know the sales rep for the products. They might also want to get in and help you, to where they might show up at the party and bring some samples. You could work with the homeowner and say, hey, we'd like to do a little joint thing. We'll have a little section over here where we could show other people some ideas that they could use if they want a deck. Again, so what we used to do is we would do these big parties after we rehabbed a house, and I would be able to get a lot of the vendors to help sponsor the party. So we would do an entire house would be on display for the afternoon, early evening, and we would have it catered. And we would invite, 100 to 200 people. We would invite customers. We would invite neighbors. We would invite friends, and they would all come through and get to tour the house, see all the work that's been done, and then they could book an appointment if they were interested in getting their house renovated, their kitchen rehab. So there's just think, like, this is where you start with one or two little ones, but you can build off of it over time. Yeah, perfect. So you already got the one neighbor who's ready to roll. When you're at the party, you talk them up to say, hey, go find me another neighbor so we can get, the goal should try to be 3 jobs. Try to get 3 out of every one. So every time you land one job, see if you can get 3 in the area. Yeah, it is a lot of work, but keep in mind, this is the beauty of you. By you getting this other gentleman tooled up, geared up, he's going to be building the projects for you so that you have the time to do this networking, right? This is the building of the business. And then it'll start becoming more manageable if you can be doing that during your regular workday, right? You'll be negotiating, when's the party, how are we doing it, all these things. So it'll pay off for you, because if this job lands into 3 more jobs, you know, yeah, yeah, brother, just keep working at it. And if don't be too discouraged. Every project and every step is always a learning curve. Remember, it may not go 100% the way you expect the first time. That doesn't mean it doesn't work in general. It just means, hey, we got to clean up a few things, do it a little bit differently for the next one, and keep going. So my first party wasn't the biggest success either. Okay, but it doesn't mean you don't. Yours might crush it. Either way, you just keep refining the process, and you get it a little bit better and a little bit better to where you really dial it in. You're like, damn, that works. Hey, Angel, we haven't seen you in a while. All right. Well, Justin, anything else? I appreciate the interaction. Thank you for asking the questions. Yes, sir. Yeah, if we know anybody in Vegas, get them to 702 the GOAT. Thanks, Justin. Have a great night. Angel, I think that you jumped off. I thought you joined, but I don't see you. So if you have any questions, ask them. Otherwise, we're going to end this. All right. Those of you on any of the other channels, if you have any questions, I'm not seeing anything come up. So my thought process is we'll end it for tonight. So if you missed earlier, tonight we were just talking about how you need a proper onboarding process for your employees, okay? And all that means is you're explaining to them how we do things at our company, because you got to get that out in the beginning. Otherwise, they're going to do what they think's best. And most of the time, what I've learned over the years is an employee, when they do something that I might not agree with, it wasn't that they were stupid. It wasn't that they were trying to make it harder for me. It's they were doing what they thought was best. They had really good intentions, and they might not have understood all the ramifications for what their decision would play out in the long run. That's on you as a business owner. You have to now, in turn, properly explain to them how the culture works. This is the way we handle things, so that when they make those decisions in the future, they have the same context in their mind that you have in yours, and they make better decisions for you. So, all right, that's everything for tonight. You guys have a great night. Hey, Justin, thank you. I appreciate it.